What's up, guys? What's going on? This is RJ Game News USA here. And today I want to go over the review scores for Avowed, a game that recently released on the Xbox Series X and was day one in Game Pass. And I just want to hit on the review scores and go over it. It's a game that I'm very interested in, and am curious what you all think in the comments below. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's jump right into it. So Avowed got an 80 on Metacritic, 51 positive reviews, 14 mixed, 0 negative. An 80 is a very solid score. This game looks like a really solid game. It's looking like kind of maybe a fringe early 2025 Game of the Year candidate. There are a wide variety of opinions on this game, on how good it actually is, and we're going to go over that here and talk about what the reviewers had to say. So honestly, I'm a little surprised at some of these reviews. Starting with a perfect score from VG247 that says, that's what Avowed is. Strong storytelling, great combat, lovely visuals, and utterly charming. It's not going to light everyone's hair on fire, but that's fine, because I know for a certain subset of people, refined people of taste, if you ask me, Avowed will enjoy cult classic status. What a review, a glowing review from VG247 with the perfect 100 score. Let's bounce around a little bit. We got a 95 from Checkpoint Gaming that said, Avowed is impressive in almost everything it sets out to do. It has sharp writing, captivating companions, an intriguing story, and a varied world that is just thrilling to explore. It's visually stunning too, with high production values. And that is a 95 from Checkpoint Gaming. They are very impressed. This game sounds like an absolute banger. I'm very impressed with new IP, or new, I know it's based off some other series a little bit, but, you know, this is kind of like new. Kind of scratches that Skyrim itch, if you like that kind of stuff, it looks like. How about Mondo Xbox with a 93? With Avowed, Obsidian confirms itself as one of the best RPG studios around, capable of reworking a new classic formula by rejuvenating it, lightening it up, and combining it with first-rate storytelling, world building, and gameplay mechanics. And guys, a lot of games are built on the back of the gameplay mechanics. Every game's built on the back of the gameplay mechanics. And a lot of games these days are built off of the back of the storytelling. And we have heard multiple times from multiple reviewers that those areas are very solid, if not great, in Avowed. How about Digital Trends with a 90, saying, with Avowed, Obsidian Entertainment once again flaunts its writing chops with a fantasy story that is contemporary in its themes and combat that feels better than almost any other first-person Western RPG. That's a statement. Whether you've experienced Pillars of Eternity game before or not, this is a title worth playing. And that was the series it's sort of based on, is Pillars of Eternity, which I'm not very familiar with myself. This game got a ton of 90s. An absolute shitload of 90s, which is to be expected. But let's go to an 89 from Generation Xbox that says, Avowed is more than it might seem at first. It is an RPG that is accessible to everyone. That's important. but that shows above average quality from the hands of Obsidian. And again, we keep hearing how good the quality is, and we keep hearing how good the gameplay is, the story is, and some of its originality too. So this is exactly the kind of game we needed in 2025, if you ask me. Then we have Xbox Era with an 88, saying Avowed is an excellent game. One major issue that keeps it from being an all-timer for me, with the gear progression system being as restrictive as it is at launch. They can patch that, and I hope they do, as the rest of the game is excellent. So a little bit of criticism here about the gear management system. You know, it's a little in the weeds with the game a little bit, but that is important. If you're fumbling through your inventory, you're going to have less fun. It's one of the reasons why I've always had a little issue with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, is a lot of times you are fumbling through the inventory, especially in Breath of the Wild. And so yeah, fumbling through your inventory a little bit in Avowed, it's a minor issue that can become a major issue when you spend tens, maybe even 100 hours in it. I don't know if Avowed's that long. I don't think it's 100 hours, but when you start spending tens of hours in a game, it can get annoying. Gamers Heroes with an 85, saying, Avowed takes a few hours to find its feet, but once it does, the RPG provides an unforgettable journey that never outstays its welcome. Avowed features a jaw-dropping world to explore, complete with a solid cast of intriguing characters and choices that will remain with you long term. I also want to point out, I listened to the Podcast Unlocked podcast, the Xbox podcast from IGN, which they gave it a 7 out of 10, and they were describing how the game works, and they were talking about how enemies don't respawn, so once you kill off enemies in an area, it feels like an empty biome, and they sort of acted negative about that a little bit. I actually view that as a positive. Knowing that at some point you can actually kill every enemy in this world and be able to walk freely around without any enemies attacking you, like you're some kind of badass, I think that's actually sort of low-key a good thing. I actually think it's a good thing that the game is not very long for an RPG. So, I think these are all, like, positives. Like, the only reason I'm not going to be able to play Avowed is, as you guys might have known, I switched from Xbox to PlayStation recently in order to stream and play those games, because it's been 7 or 8 years since I had PlayStation console. So I switched it up. Or else this would be one of the titles that I would have been super excited to play at launch on Game Pass. But I assume this at some point is coming to PlayStation. Xbox putting all their games on PlayStation. So when it does, I'm excited to play this game. I'm not going to lie. This is one of the games that I feel like I'm missing totally from my library, from my experience in 2025 right now. And hopefully I'll get a chance at some point to play it. How about an 83 from Spazio Games, saying Avowed has a lot of strategies, from its world building to RPG system, and it entertains for at least 40 plus hours thanks to them. Obsidian didn't reinvent the RPG wheel, but considering how cold is Bethesda's first-person RPG throne, and how far still new the Elder Scrolls... Okay, this review kind of sucked. Honestly, he was too wordy. How about Tech Radar Gaming with an 80? Avowed is an excellent first-person fantasy RPG that features sick combat, feel, and Moorish exploration. Man, these reviewers suck sometimes at phrasing shit. Its setting of the living lands is rich in atmosphere and has an ethereal quality. that made me want to uncover every nook and cranny. I got a ton of 80s. Obviously, that makes sense because the overall Metacritic score is an 80. Games.ch with a 79. A nicely told story of life and its ups and downs, completed with hand-drawn art and well-picked indie music by a local band. By the way, we are listening to Avowed music in the background. I don't know why Games.ch only gave it a 79. You couldn't bump that up one more point to an 80. I mean, sometimes these reviewers just get lost in the weeds. Like, when I review shit, it's like, I'll do a 10-point scale, and I'll do like half points. But when you start doing any less than that, you're just getting ridiculous. Speaking of which, Worth Playing gave it a 78. Saying, Avowed is a game full of fun exploration, an interesting story tied to lackluster combat, and an annoying equipment system that keeps you from reaching its full potential. When I was engaged in Avowed, I would spend hours wandering around, talking to NPCs. So again, we have a problem with the equipment. That was mentioned multiple times already. You guys got to let me know in the comments below if you're having issues with the equipment or the inventory. But this is the first reviewer that said the combat was lackluster. Everybody else so far has said the combat's great. I tend to believe them, considering how many reviews we've seen. Washington Post with a 75, saying, for the first several hours of Avowed, I was properly transported to its world of artificial gods and colonial strife. Obsidian Entertainment, one of gaming's most celebrated narrative houses, was meeting high expectations. Then I noticed something I've never felt before. We have to actually read more. Then I noticed something I've never felt before during a game made by Obsidian, the studio that made Fallout New Vegas and the Pillars of Eternity franchise. All witterly role-playing games focused on character-driven narratives that react to player choices. I stopped caring about the characters. My story choices didn't matter much, either the narrative or more fatally to myself. That sounds like a you problem. Some reviewers just have a them problem. Not a problem with the game, but a problem with themselves. Either they've been reviewing games too long, or they're jaded by the industry. You know, even me, somebody who plays a lot of games, who watches a lot of movies, who reviews a lot of shit online, who talks about people reviewing shit online all the time. I have caught myself being overly negative before. And when you do that, you have to really stop and look at things objectively before you go out and you post that video or you write that review. Sometimes you have to, yes, your personal experience does matter as a reviewer, but you have to look at things objectively at least a little bit and not let your bias seep too much into the review. And I feel like that's what the Washington Post reviewer did. GamePro Germany with a 73, now that we're in the mixed reviews, says an RPG with very good writing and memorable companions that lacks in terms of presentation and game mechanics. So, a little odd of a review here from GamePro Germany. You know, everybody praised the mechanics up to this point, mostly, and the presentation. But GamePro Germany was not having it. You know, they were really mixed on it, and that's why they gave it a mixed review. We talked about IGN 70, so you might as well bring it up here. They said, with awesome world building and stellar character writing, Avowed reminds me why I fell in love with Obsidian's RPGs in the first place. However, the bigger picture is that it plays it quite safe, with the by-the-numbers fantasy adventure that's more familiar than revolutionary. Again, what are the games doing this right now? Like, I feel like Avowed has carved out what people want to play, possibly. What people have been waiting for. I mean, we can't just wait every 20 years for a Fallout, or every fucking 8 years for an Elder Scrolls, or 20 years for an Elder Scrolls. Like, we need games like this more often. So I'm not sure what the complaint here is from IGN to say something like that. I thought that was a little negative there. CD Action with a 65 saying, Avowed delights and disappoints. The mix of RPG and action-adventure offers a great deal of freedom in terms of exploration and character development in the beginning, only to fail to exploit the full potential of the systems implemented later on. Such a shame. So, classic case, and I've fallen into this before with games, where you enjoy the beginning of a game, and then as it opens up more, you become less interested. It's happened to me. I can understand why it happened to CD Action. I would counterpoint that by saying, since the game's only 40 hours long, I feel like they didn't pad it out. I feel like they gave you a lot of meat here, from what I'm understanding. And that's what we do want more from our games. We want more meat, more substance, less fluff. So I think that based on what I'm seeing, and of course I need to play it as well before I know for sure, but based on what I'm seeing, I think this reviewer missed the mark. And then the low score is a 60. And we'll read it from my favorite reviewer, The Guardian. I say that jokingly, because if you guys have followed the channel, you know I fucking hate The Guardian. Okay? They gave it a 60, saying, Avowed started out as Obsidian's answer to Bethesda's Elder Scrolls series, and it did remind me a lot of Oblivion and Skyrim in the exciting moments where I stumbled across something unexpected in the wilds, but it also shares those games' legacies towards repetition. What can you say? It's The Guardian. Wah-wah. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed me going over the review scores for Avowed. Let me know if you're going to pick this up. And thanks for watching. Peace. I'm out. Have a good one.